you too. I think you're so cute, 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 cute.
Mooshik was a very small mouse with very big dreams. He lived in a cozy little hole behind a big warm fireplace in a human house. While other mice were busy searching for cheese or playing hide and squeak, Mooshik had a different sort of fun. He loved to read. His little nose would twitch with excitement whenever he found a new book. He had a tiny collection of books made from old newspaper scraps and colorful magazine pages. Mooshik thought books were the most wonderful things in the entire world. They were full of pictures and squiggly lines that told amazing stories. Every morning, Mooshik would put on his tiny round glasses. He would pick a book from his little shelf. "Which adventure shall we have today?" he would whisper to himself. Sometimes he would read about brave knights in shiny armor. Other times he would read about silly dragons who sneezed fire by accident. He imagined himself sailing on big ships and climbing tall mountains. His little mouse hole was not just a home. It was a castle, a spaceship, and a pirate island, all thanks to the magic of his books. He loved reading so much. One day, Mooshik read all of his books for the 10th time. "Oh dear," he sighed, his whiskers drooping a little. "I need a new story." He wanted a new adventure, something he had never seen before. The world outside his mouse hole seemed very big and a little bit scary, but the thought of a new book, a new story, made his little heart beat with courage. He decided it was time to be brave, just like the heroes in his stories. He packed a tiny crumb of cheese for a snack and tiptoed out of his cozy home. Mooshik scurried along the skirting board, his little feet making soft pitter-patter sounds on the wooden floor. The house was quiet and still. He followed a sunbeam that shone through the window, leading him to a room he had never explored before. It was the human's library. Books, so many books, stood tall on shelves that reached all the way to the ceiling. It was the most beautiful sight Mooshik had ever seen. He felt like a tiny explorer who had just discovered a new land, a land made entirely of stories waiting to be read. As Mooshik stood in awe, he noticed something peculiar. One of the bookshelves in the corner seemed to shimmer and glow with a soft, warm light. It was not a normal bookshelf at all. It was much smaller, just the right size for a little mouse. Carved into the wood were tiny pictures of smiling stars and dancing letters. A little sign above it read, "The Whispering Library of Wonders." Mooshik's ears perked up. He could hear a gentle sound, like the rustling of pages in a soft breeze, coming from the tiny library. It was calling to him. Feeling both nervous and incredibly excited, Mooshik scampered closer. The tiny books on the shelves were glowing with different colors. One book glowed a brilliant blue, another a sunny yellow, and one a cheerful grassy green. They seemed to hum with a magical energy. This was not like the human library at all. This was something special, something just for him. He reached out a tiny paw and gently touched the spine of a bright red book. It felt warm and buzzed with a happy feeling, like a purring kitten. He knew he had found something truly amazing. He carefully pulled the red book from the shelf. On its cover was a picture of a friendly-looking lion wearing a crown. The title read, "Leo the Lion Learns to Share." Mooshik sat down on a little mushroom stool that had magically appeared just for him. He opened the book. As he looked at the first page, the words and pictures began to swirl. The air around him shimmered, and the room started to spin. Whoosh! It felt like sliding down the most exciting slide in the world. He was not just reading the story, he was falling right into it. Suddenly, Mooshik was no longer in the quiet library. He found himself standing on soft yellow grass under a big warm sun. The air smelled of sweet flowers and dusty earth. He had landed in the middle of the African savanna, right inside the book. He looked down at his paws and wiggled his whiskers. Everything felt so real. He could hear the buzz of funny-looking insects and the distant roar of a lion. This was more than just a story. It was a real adventure, and it was all just beginning. In the first book, Mooshik met Leo, the friendly lion. Leo had a big pile of yummy berries but didn't want to share them with his friends. Mooshik, being a very polite mouse, squeaked, "Hello, King Leo. Those berries look delicious. Sharing them might be even more fun than eating them all by yourself." Leo the lion listened to the little mouse. Together, they shared the berries with all the jungle animals. Everyone had a wonderful party, and Leo learned that sharing makes everyone happy, especially himself. Mooshik waved goodbye, feeling happy that he helped a new friend. Next, Mooshik chose a blue book titled Penelope the Penguin's Big Slip. Whoosh! He was whisked away to a land of snow and ice. It was very, very cold. He met a little penguin named Penelope who was afraid to slide down the big icy hill with her friends. She was worried she would slip and fall. Mooshik remembered a story about being brave. He waddled over and said, "It's okay to be scared, Penelope. But sometimes trying something new is the bravest thing you can do. I will slide with you." They slid down together, laughing all the way. Penelope learned that it's good to try new things. His third adventure came from a green book called Gigi the Giraffe Who Couldn't Giggle. Mooshik found himself in a forest with very tall trees. He met Gigi, a giraffe who was very sad because she had forgotten how to laugh. All her friends told jokes, but Gigi just sighed. Mooshik, who loved silly things, started to make funny faces and wiggle his tail in a silly dance. He tickled Gigi's long leg with his whisker. At first nothing happened, but then a little snort escaped from Gigi, then a bigger chuckle, and finally a huge, happy giggle. Gigi learned that laughter is the best music. With each book he opened, Mooshik had a new and exciting journey. He flew on the back of a sparkly dragon, swam in the ocean with a chorus of singing fish, and even had a tea party with a grumpy gnome who learned to say please and thank you. Every story was a chance to make a new friend and learn something important. Mooshik learned about kindness, courage, and the joy of a good giggle. The magical library was the best place in the world, filled with endless adventures and wonderful lessons for a little mouse. After many wonderful adventures, Mooshik finally closed the last book and found himself back in the quiet, cozy library. The sun was beginning to set, casting long, sleepy shadows across the room. Mooshik felt full of happiness and new ideas. He had learned so much and met so many lovely characters. He knew he couldn't keep all this magic to himself. His friends Pip and Squeaky needed to know about this wonderful place. They needed to experience the joy of jumping into a story and having an adventure of their own. Mooshik scurried back to his mouse hole as fast as his little legs could carry him. "Pip! Squeaky!" he called out excitedly. "You will not believe what I have found!" His friends were playing with a bottle cap, but they stopped when they saw how Mooshik's eyes were sparkling with joy. He told them all about the Whispering Library of Wonders. He described the glowing books, the friendly lion, the brave penguin, and the giggling giraffe. He explained how the books weren't just for reading, they were for living. At first, Pip and Squeaky were not sure. "Reading sounds a bit boring, Mooshik," said Pip, twitching his nose. "We would rather play tag." But Mooshik smiled and took his friends by the paw. "It's the best kind of playing," he insisted. "It's an adventure you can hold in your hands." He led them back to the magical library. When Pip and Squeaky saw the tiny glowing books, their eyes grew wide with wonder. They had never seen anything so beautiful and magical in their entire lives. They were finally starting to understand. Mooshik helped his friends pick their very first books. Soon, all three mice were giggling as they zoomed into different stories. Pip was helping a squirrel find his lost acorns, and Squeaky was painting a rainbow with a family of colorful birds. Mooshik watched his friends, his heart full of warmth. He had discovered the true magic of books, not just the adventures they hold, but the joy of sharing them with the ones you love. From that day on, the three friends were the biggest book lovers in the whole house, always ready for their next storytime adventure together.
Thank you for watching my channel.